What's up? It's Andrew from the band Ripped to Shreds. Today I'm joined by...
My name's Jeff Black. I play keyboards in the power metal band Glyph, guitar in Spell, and also guitar in Gatekeeper.
And he's also done the backup vocals on the new heavy metal shrapnel record. Today we are here to talk about how to write heavy metal vocals. They present a unique challenge in ways that don't really hold for like other genres, especially with something as riff-based as traditional heavy metal. Obviously, this would be totally different for European power metal, because they don't have riffs in European power metal. What are we looking at today?
I pulled out 3 examples. The first one is We Rock by Dio from the Last in Line album, Eyes of a Stranger by Queensryche from Operation Mindcrime, and then to just cheese it up a little bit, I brought in some Rhapsody of Fire, Emerald Sword.
Dio, We Rock. Obviously, I come from the extreme metal world. We don't have chord progressions. We don't have harmony. We just have, 0-1-0-1 the whole time. Dio is coming from that time when heavy metal wasn't really real yet. We're talking like mid-70s to late 70s. Of course, Black Sabbath existed, but they were like a very, very heavy blues rock band that did some things that got turned into metal. Like, I personally consider them to be retroactively metal and not like metal when they started. When we're listening to these kinds of chord progressions and the melodies that Dio would sing over them, I think it's coming from a totally different place, even like just the 80s bands like Metallica. Just a 1-7-1.
Super simple chord progression, very, very open, and the whole song it follows the 1 minor, flat 7 major, flat 6 major, like that classic. So you got A minor, and then you got your, it's a G chord, and then later on there'll be an F chord, right? But yeah, at the very, very beginning, so yeah, it's just hugging those 2 chords, and I think the thing that's kind of cool about that is that it gives the vocalist a lot of room to move.
When did metal riffs like obscure classics from the late 80s, Liege Lord or Hellstorm, right? Then they start putting in all these big up and down things in the riffs, and the vocalist ends up wailing, like just one long ah, while the guitars go crazy. And it's like they almost switch roles, where the vocalist is providing the texture while the guitars are doing the cool shit. But here, late 70s, early 80s, we're still vocal forward, and the guitar is providing the support.
Yeah, that's basically it. There's like segmented areas, like, okay, like the intro riff, that's a riff. Okay, Vivian, play a sick riff, we'll build up. And then once we're in the song, that's when Dio takes over. That's when the storytelling starts and everything. So I think that's like a pretty clear, cut and dried moment. It's like each instruments kind of like have their turn to speak.
Take us through that pre-chorus to chorus section of We Rock.
You got your verse, which is the vocal melody is a little bit busier and has this cool syncopated theme. And then it goes into the pre-chorus, and the pre-chorus is like long sustained notes with like a little tight third harmony. And then goes up to the 7 chord. And that's it. Dead simple. It's just 2 notes with a tight harmony on top. Ba-da, hang a song, carry on. And that's quite a bit toned down in terms of like melodic structure. And then you get to the chorus, and the chorus is even more simple. It goes, we rock!
There we go. I mean, when I hear that pre-chorus part, I mean, it really takes me into that whole 70s rock vibe. And maybe because my listening is very biased towards either extreme stuff or the kind of obscure true metal type of thing where who knows what the fuck they're thinking. It just instantly strikes me as, this is very much rock thinking rather than metal thinking.
You could even go beyond that and say that it's pop thinking. This idea of using contrast between the sections to build height. The guitar is like very open in the verses. You get to like the pre-chorus, and even though it's more simple, there's an intensity that wasn't there before. You've gone from that ba 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 to ba da ba da na. Those long sustained notes with the vibrato and the tight harmony on top. It like raises the stakes. And then you get to the chorus, and the chorus, we rock! And then you got the cool riff coming back in. The pre-chorus is like setting up a promise, and then the chorus delivers.
It's difficult for me to call that like pop songwriting, because I feel like that's a natural thing that all songwriters kind of strive to do, unless they have like a concept. Vaughn or Darkthrone, they had a concept on those monotonous albums. We refuse to make build-ups. We're just going to do one for 10 minutes, right? But if you're trying to make anything remotely catchy, you have to think like that.
Maybe pop isn't the right term, but maybe like traditional songcraft. The reason that I say pop is because I feel like the people who develop pop music are usually the masters of this, who like understand how to get this reaction the quickest and most effective way possible.
Right. Don't bore us, get to the chorus. This next one is from, I mean, I like Dio well enough. I wouldn't call him like one of my favorites ever. But Operation Mindcrime is, I mean, that's like the fucking top. That's like the creme de la creme of traditional heavy metal for me. Prog metal, whatever, man. It's just fucking sick. And this is the chorus from Eyes of a Stranger, which is closing out the album. I wouldn't really call it a ballad, but it's maybe less hard rocking than something like The Needle Lies, right? Or Revolution Calling.
I like the vocal lines. I picked that song because I find the vocal lines pretty adventurous. Again, it's got a similar kind of structure to the Dio track, where you've got your verse, where it's quite open. You've just got some clean guitar stabs in the background, riffing on two chords. It's F sharp, and then it goes to E. And then again, lots of space for the vocals to kind of float over top and do some cool stuff. Something like that. There's a wide range. That's like a 1.5 octave span of notes. Using that much space in a verse sequence is quite a lot. Still like 4 phrases baked into each one of those pieces. All alone now except for the memories. So statement, then a little follow-up. What we have and what we knew. Kind of follows the same, like little, not quite question and answer, but like statement and follow-up. Then a third one where he embellishes. Every time I try to leave it behind me, I see something that reminds me of you. So like 4 distinct phrases, but very embellished. Lots of play between them. You get the pre-chorus, looking back at me. He like jumps up an octave. Sings like it's 3 notes, the key changes, it goes down to E minor at that part, and it sets up the chorus melody, which is quite a bit more ambitious than the Dio track, for example, right? I'll mess this one up. I haven't played this in the... 2, 3, 4. There we go. A lot more movement, and the phrasing's also a little unusual too. It's not like really a straight A B A B kind of a phrase. It's kind of like an A B B A C kind of a thing.
So it's like when I was writing the melodies for the new heavy metal shrapnel record, I really had to like learn how to compress my melodic sensibilities. And when I write on guitar, my default and that's what I consider to be a melody. Mark actually needs to sing this. Now I gotta no more big arpeggios. I gotta cram it down to like 3 notes, maybe 4. The verse melody would be kind of restrained, keep it in like a small range, and then when it hits the chorus, okay, it's time to open up, be big and epic. And that's kind of how I learned to think about melodies, you know, as you said, a lot more adventurous, which is different from, you know, Dio, we rock, da, da. It's just like 2 notes. Everyone stand up and sing the hook with us, right? I think you would still hear a stadium try to sing along to the Eyes of a Stranger hook. They might go, Eyes of a Stranger, you know, as people do.
I've seen Queensryche live, so I've seen it happen. And yeah, it's literally like the part where you get the fat stacks of Jeff Tate like doing 3-part harmony. That's where the audience sings. They go, I love a stranger. They get like this drunk dads. It's got some more complexity to it, but harmonically though, it's still very simple, right? It's kind of like the Dio track. The Dio track relies on 3 chords, and that Queensryche song also relies on 3 chords. The main difference is that, though, it steps down, like it starts in F sharp for the verses, then pre-chorus and chorus are in E. So it kind of there's like a modulation partway through. But even so, they're rocking against 3 chords, kind of stretching the phrasing out.
While we're on the topic of Jeff's, you know, big vocal stacks, it's kind of like a cliche on the chorus, have like the big sing-along and add a whole bunch of harmonies. That Dio song was just 1 note, right? But here, we've got like an actual harmony. They both feel epic, but like kind of in different ways. How do you approach picking which one you want to do?
Most Glyph songs, for example, especially the biggest ones, usually started with me coming up with what I thought was like a banger chorus or a catchy chorus of some kind. The structure of the chorus is going to dictate what the rest of the song has to do around it. If the chorus is a little busier, a little wordier, then that means that the other sections have to leave room for that to breathe, especially the pre-chorus. The pre-chorus, in my opinion, should be the most different, just so that when you get to that chorus part, it's like exploding outward. We have a song called Defy the Night, and the first thing that I came up with was Defy the Night, and like Defy the Night was just some bullshit I said to like fill out the phrasing of that. If I can come up with like a chorus idea and have some kind of like vocalization for it, I know I'm in good shape. I can like bang out a song idea in an hour. Verses like are smaller, not a lot of harmonies on those. You're always trying to build though. Sometimes what I'll do is like, okay, I want the ending of a verse to sound stronger than the start of the verse. So, okay, maybe we'll like let a harmony come in at the end of the verse, like on the last couple lyrics or something. Or sometimes it's about differentiating verse sections from previous verse sections. So maybe the first verse, you sing it straight, you sing it like with just one voice up the middle, but then second verse, there's little punctuating ear candy harmonies that come in over top, right? That's a really common thing. That's kind of like a soft rule that I try to have when I'm arranging Glyph songs, is like, if I'm going to repeat a part, I don't want it to be 100% the same musically. I do want some other element to happen on the second verse. Gatekeeper, probably our most popular song, Blade of Samaria, that one doesn't have any harmonies in the choruses. It's just previous singer JP going, Blade of Samaria! It's just him screaming, but he's like doubled and tripled on that one, I think. Wailing that as hard as he can, kind of belting it in like with his kind of raspy voice at a volume level and like a sustain that hadn't happened in the song up until that point.
Up to this point, the harmonies have all been like, so Dio was like 1-7-1, right?
Queensryche starts in F sharp and it's 1 flat 7 to 1 for the verses, and then in the chorus it's like 1 to flat 7, and then it goes to the flat 6, and then back to the 1, back to the flat 6.
So it's still like maybe what you might call heavy metal harmony, right? 1-7, maybe down to 6, 7-1. Iron Maiden was all about that 6-7-1. Now I'm looking at this Rhapsody song. It's quite a bit more involved.
Yeah, this one's a little more ambitious. I mean, Rhapsody come from like neoclassical kind of a background and a film score background, or at least that's where their interests are. And so their harmony follows more of like, I'm probably messing up the terminology, but like kind of like a circle of fifths type of thing. A move down a fifth and down another fifth and down another fifth. It's in C minor and it starts on the 1 chord, starts on C. And then it goes down to G, then to E flat, and then down to B flat, and then to F, then C, and then we have a key change here. We go to D, and then to G, like that. Because the chord progression is so much more intricate, I feel like the melody has a little bit less room to play. It's a little bit less jumpy. Kind of follows the chord tones a little bit more. Walking up from the root to the third, and then on the G chord it's 5 roots, and then on the E flat it's root, second, third, and then on the B flat it's the 5th, right? So we're very much leaning into chord tones in this melody. And, excuse me. Yeah, leaning into chord tones on this melody. The harmonic rhythm of this chord progression is faster. The chords change faster. It's C, then G, then E flat, then B flat, then F, then C, then D, then G.
Looking at the tab, I also noticed, like, the riff is, like... It's just the root note. It's almost fulfilling a bass role, right? Because I noticed Dragon Force didn't used to do this on their earlier albums, but once they hit Human Rampage, everything was just tremolo the root note.
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of came out with this like Europower stuff, and I think it actually started with Blind Guardian. Blind Guardian has riffs, but they have lots of stuff where like the song is really built around like power chords, like lots of stuff on like the third record especially has lots of riffs like that, and there are like riffs in there, but during some of these verses it's like tremolo picking power chord.
The pre-chorus is pretty short. It looks like it's 8 bars.
That one, da 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 na 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 da na 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 na.
1, 2.
Playing it a bit more like a trad metal type progression on that one. The vocal melody kind of soars a little bit more. Then you get to the chorus, which is very sweet.
I'm surprised that a metal band can get away with like, the harmonic rhythm, because I'm very used to the harmonic rhythm of metal songs being like, the same for 16 bars or just the whole fucking song.
It does, I think, tie your vocalist's hands a little bit, because it just gives you less, it's harder to sustain notes and like do longer melodies because the chords are always changing underneath. If you're trying to do like bigger jumps, you have to be very, very careful about like, okay, landing on the next chord tone or whatever. Imagine trying to like write a vocal phrase over giant steps or something, right?
And I do notice that when people solo over giant steps, a lot of the solos end up sounding very similar, because you have to be able to keep up with this crazy sequence of chord changes that are very, very fast.
So this is like, obviously maybe not quite as crazy as that. Most of that melody is just following the scale up, following the scale down. Okay, I'll like dip down for this note. Yeah, there's fewer jumps than in like the verse in Eyes of a Stranger is a lot more, I think, acrobatic. I think a good exercise as a guitarist, if you're trying to develop your sense of melody and phrasing, is to sit down, take your favorite like rock songs or pop songs or whatever they are, and just transcribe the vocal melody on guitar. You'll probably be shocked at how little actual movement there is on the fretboard.
That's something I absolutely had to do. When I was, practicing writing vocal melodies, I would go and look up, and it would be like that. So I had to learn, okay, when I'm actually singing words, it's okay to just keep the same pitch. It sounds ridiculous on the guitar, but not with a voice.
A simple boneheaded melody that sounds stupid on an instrument will come to life when it has lyrics on it, and you have like some enunciation. The singing like has an emotional reflection behind it, like you're getting like an angry spitting approach or a soft whispery caress. Add in those kinds of things, and then all of a sudden it doesn't matter what the melody is. Almost you can get away with having like just amazing delivery.
That's also something a lot of US power metal vocalists, they lean on that as well. You know, the Tyrant, right? On Ample Destruction. I have no idea what any of those melodies are. Like, the vocal melodies. Like, is there one? He's just wailing at the top of his range. But he sounds cool, and that's all that matters.
It's dope, and it suits the vibe of the music and everything. Like, I would never say that Ample Destruction should, like, tighter vocal melodies or anything. I would never say that, because that's, like, it's not what they're going for at all, you know? This is more for just, like, hey, like, I have trouble working with singers, or I'm trying to, like, I'm trying to write my own vocal melodies for the first time, or, like, I keep bringing songs in and my singer doesn't know what to do with them and things like that. This is like the problem that you want to solve, right? And I think a couple of really, really great exercises to do is what we just talked about a little bit earlier. Transcribe some vocal melodies and actually see what the hell's going on the fretboard when your favorite singers are singing. Also, I think that's good for your guitar playing as well. You can develop your phrasing in a lot of ways, but like go grab like some dad rock that you grew up with. Get some Pink Floyd or some bubblegum pop like Britney Spears or whatever. Like go grab some of that shit. Figure out what's happening on the fretboard and then figure out the chords that are underlying it. And then start thinking like, okay, like when are they singing a chord tone? When are they not singing a chord tone? How does that impact the feeling? And look for a lot of examples like that. You have to be a student of this thing to get better at it. I mentioned this one earlier, Storm of Crimson Fire. That song's got over 1 million streams on Spotify right now. And that one, I was at my lesson studio at a no-show, and my bassist, Darren, was in the Czech Republic seeing Manowar. And he was texting me, he's like, dude, we're hammered, and we're gonna go to a bar. It's called Battalion of Dragons. And I was like, Battalion of Dragons, na 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 na, and I like wrote the melody for that song, and I had Battalion of Dragons. That was the spark, and it got rolling. I just wrote a bullshit chorus, and most of those lyrics got gutted and rewritten down the line. But like that stupid phrase, Battalion of Dragons, kickstarted a song that's paid my rent for a few months, you know? Do you know who Buster Odahome is? Yeah, he's the Thal dude. I remember like watching a video of him where he talks about like a great song starter is he'll go a big folder of like post-production samples of like just like weird synth noises and things like that. And he'll just like find one that's like, and be like, oh, this one's in C, and it's kind of cool, and he'll like stretch it to fit the tempo that he's looking for and use that as a starting point for like writing riffs over top of. So he's like starting with like post-production things and then writing songs over top of that. And then often those post-production things get like mangled in the process. So that's another really cool way of doing things, and it's a modern world that there's modern tools. You might as well use them. You might as well have a little fun. If you're at your most creative when you've got your DAW opened up and like your guitar in your hands, or like or you're like ripping through like libraries of samples to like get wacky stuff, that's cool too, you know?
But it can't be like Ice Ice Baby, where it just goes da dung da 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 da. We're not hip hop artists. We don't need to clear samples. We're just gonna go back and play it differently later after we've chopped it up.
Spell has a new single coming out. It's called Lilac. I believe it's coming out on February. Lilac by Spell, out on Bad Omen / Metal Blade Records. And then we will also be performing at Hell's Heroes Festival. We're playing on Friday, March 20th. Legions of Metal in Chicago with Glyph. I'll be playing guitar on stage. Omen's playing, Rhapsody's playing. It's a real meeting of power metal worlds. We'll watch some weenies get beat up by some heshers. It'll be tight. We'll have fun. I don't know who I'm cheering for. They're both awesome.
And you will also hear some of his vocals on a song that will be dropping next week. And for all of you out there, as always, eat ass, blast fast, and peace.